Welcome to today's deep dive. We're going to be exploring ADF Foods Ltd.
Okay.
You've given us some really great articles and reports, so let's break it all down.
It's exciting stuff. What strikes me about ADF Foods is they're not limiting themselves, right? They're taking Indian flavors to like 55 countries.
Wow, so we're talking global scale there.
Global domination, maybe? Yeah.
Okay, well, before we get too far ahead of ourselves, just for our listeners who might not know, what is ADF Foods exactly?
Well, their story starts back in 1988,
Okay.
and they actually went public pretty early on, 1995. Listed on both, the big Indian exchanges, NSE and BSE.
Right, the National Stock Exchange and the Bombay one.
Exactly. So that tells you they were ambitious right from the get-go. And look at them now. Their market cap is over
I was going to say, where are they at today?
2,000 crore, which is a lot of investor confidence, clearly.
That's a powerful statement, yeah. But what are they actually selling? What's their product mix like?
That's the thing. They have over 400 SKUs. It's a huge range. 400?
Yeah, across all these different categories.
What?
Like, you've got your frozen snacks, ready-to-eat meals for those busy people, traditional breads,
Okay.
pickles, chutneys, you name it, even sauces and spices.
So it's like a complete culinary experience they're offering.
Yeah, if you want Indian flavors, they've probably got you covered.
That's incredible. Anything else stand out from kind of the initial overview of the company?
One thing I noticed is their commitment to quality and safety is really strong.
Oh, so.
They've got all these certifications, ISO 2200.2018, they're SGS accredited, they've even gone through SMETA audits.
And these are all signals that...
It signals they're serious about doing things the right way, ethically, responsibly. That matters to a lot of consumers these days.
Absolutely. Okay, so let's zoom out a little bit now.
Okay.
What's the bigger picture here? What kind of industry are they operating in?
Well, the global ethnic food market is booming right now.
I can see why.
It's fascinating. Yeah.
You've got more cultural diversity, people's tastes are changing, everybody wants to try something new and exciting.
Right, so ADF Foods is tapping into that, though.
Oh, absolutely. And within this market, the ready-to-eat segment is just exploding.
I can see that being huge, yeah.
In 2023, it was valued at US $181.5 billion. Billion with a B. And by 2032, it's projected to reach US $262.4 billion.
Wow, that's some serious growth.
Incredible, right?
So what's driving that huge growth in ready-to-eat?
A couple things. Early on, the options were pretty limited, not a lot of variety.
I see.
But now you've got tons of cuisines, different flavors, something for everyone. Plus, you've got the millennials and Gen Z.
Right, the younger generations.
They make up over 23% of the world's population. And they love convenience. They're busy. Ready to eat is perfect for them.
So it's like this perfect storm.
Yeah, growing market, the right target audience. ADF Foods is in a good spot.
It sounds like it. And I did hear about this, the Indian government's production-linked incentive scheme, or PLI scheme.
Oh, yeah.
How does that factor into all of this?
That's a game changer, potentially. It's basically designed to boost domestic production, so make Indian brands more competitive globally.
So how does it help ADF Foods specifically?
Well, it offers financial incentives for companies like them to scale up, produce more, reach a wider audience.
It's like an extra push.
Yeah, it could help them achieve those ambitious growth goals they've set.
Makes a lot of sense. Okay,
Yeah.
so we've got this like internal drive and then external factors helping them out as well.
Yeah, it's a good combination.
Yeah. So let's actually talk about their performance now. How are they doing? Revenue growth, what do we see?
Well, in FY 2023-24, they hit 15.6% year-over-year growth.
15.6%.
Yep, which is a big jump from the previous year, which was only 7%.
Wow, they've accelerated.
Clearly found their rhythm.
Yeah.
Now, where's this growth coming from? Good question.
Is it certain regions, certain products?
It's a mix, a strategic mix, I'd say. They've got a solid distribution network in 55 countries.
Right, we talked about that.
So that gives them global reach. But they're also making smart investments in key markets.
Like,
Well, they've put a lot of money into warehouse infrastructure in the U.S., for example.
okay.
A new freezer capacity in New Jersey, specifically.
So they're really focusing on North America then?
Absolutely. It's a huge market for them.
Yeah, makes sense. And what about, it's not just their own products, right? They have that agency distribution business as well.
Oh, right. They're representing brands like Knorr, Lipton, even Taj Mahal.
Right, so they're bringing in other brands too.
Exactly. And in both U.S. and U.K. markets. That part of their business contributed Rs 88 crore in revenue.
Wow. So they're diversifying, not putting all their eggs in one basket.
Smart move. Now, revenue is great, but what about profitability?
Yeah, are they actually making money?
Oh, they are. And they're doing it well. Their standalone EBITDA margin went from 21.7% to 24.6%.
That's a good sign, right?
Really good. Shows they're operating efficiently. And their consolidated EBITDA margin also improved, 17.9% to 20.2%.
So healthy margins across the board.
Yep. And the best part, their profit after tax, that's the bottom line, surged by 32.1% year over year.
32.1%. Okay, they're doing something right.
Definitely tasting success. So what's the secret?
Yeah, what's the magic formula?
A few things, I think. Their commitment to those authentic Indian flavors is really resonating, especially with the South Asian diaspora.
Makes sense.
And they've invested in their brands, built a strong presence, loyal customers.
Yeah, you can't underestimate brand loyalty.
Absolutely. Now, a big question that comes to mind is, how much of this is exports?
Right, because they're in so many countries.
Exactly. Our sources don't give exact numbers, but we can infer that exports are a huge chunk of their business.
Yeah, 55 countries, it's got to be significant.
For sure. And then there's their truly Indian brand.
Right, the one they launched in Germany.
Yeah, that's aimed at a more mainstream global market, not just people familiar with Indian food.
It's a different approach.
It is. So they're really targeting both those niche markets and the wider audience.
Smart strategy. Okay, so they're growing, they're profitable, they're reaching a global audience.
It's impressive.
But how are they keeping up with the demand? Let's talk about capacity utilization.
Okay, so they've been doing a couple things. Debottlenecking and brownfield investments at their Nadiad and Nasic facilities.
Well, what does that mean exactly?
Basically, it's making their existing resources more efficient, squeezing more output.
Okay, so working smarter, not just harder.
Exactly. They also gave up their temporary lease in Surat, which streamlines things.
Okay.
Now, what about long-term expansion? They've got some bold plans.
Tell me more.
A new cold storage facility at Nadiad, RS 15 crore investment.
Okay.
And a greenfield project in Surat, that's a whole new facility, RS 75 crore committed just for phase 1.
Wow, they're not messing around.
This new facility is going to be for expanding their frozen food lines, both existing and new.
That's a statement of confidence in their future growth, for sure.
Absolutely. They're anticipating the trends, preparing for that global appetite for frozen foods, ready to eat, everything.
Makes sense. Okay, so this deep dive, I'm already learning so much.
It's fascinating, right?
Yeah, great story, diverse products, they've got the vision, but we can't forget about the brands.
Right. Ashoka and Truly Indian.
How are those performing? What's driving their success?
Ashoka, that's their star. Crossed R's 250 crore in revenue in FY23-24.
That's a lot.
29% CAGR over the past 3 years.
Wow, so consistently strong growth.
Exactly. And they're not letting up. They launched 37 new products just this past year under that brand.
So they're keeping it fresh.
Exactly. Responding to what people want, staying ahead of the curve.
So it's not just a good product, it's about constantly innovating and engaging with customers.
Right, and that same thinking is behind Truly Indian, adapting for that global mainstream market.
Right, like we said, the Germany launch, the U.S. launch coming up.
Yeah.
Hey, all this expansion, all these brands, they need a solid foundation.
Of course.
How's their overall financial health looking? Debt, cash flow, working capital, all that.
Well, the sources don't give us the whole picture on debt and cash flow trends. Okay.
But their working capital has gone up, but it's still at a manageable level.
So they're handling their short-term finance as well.
Seems like it. And one really positive sign is their dividend payout, 71.73%. That's very healthy.
That's impressive. So it sounds like they're financially sound and confident in their future.
That's the takeaway for sure. They're not just growing for the sake of growth. They're creating value for their stakeholders.
It's a good position to be in. So we've covered a lot. History, products, financials, brands. What else is in store for this deep dive?
Oh, we've only just begun. Next up, we'll take a closer look at their performance in different regions, those profitability details, and what challenges and opportunities are out there for this global food ambassador.
Sounds good. Let's keep diving in.
Let's do it. Welcome back. We're continuing our deep dive into ADF Foods Ltd.
Yeah, we've laid some good groundwork, kind of sense of their history, the industry.
Right, how they're positioned.
And their overall, financial picture.
They seem pretty solid, yeah.
Now I want to dig into those growth drivers a little more. Okay.
We said they're in 55 countries.
A true global reach.
But are all regions performing equally?
That's the question, isn't it? The reports, they didn't give us a country-by-country breakdown, but their investments give us some clues, right? Big spending on warehouse infrastructure in the U.S.,
Okay.
especially that new freezer capacity in New Jersey.
So they're betting big on North America.
Definitely seems like it's a key focus.
Makes sense. Huge market.
Plus, you've got the growing South Asian population there looking for those authentic flavors.
Exactly. And we can't forget that agency distribution business.
Oh, right, with Knorr,
And
Lipton.
Taj Mahal, those big brands.
It's a smart move, tapping into existing markets, diversifying revenue.
Not putting all their eggs in one basket, as they say.
Exactly. So speaking of brands, we got to talk about Ashoka more.
Yeah, they're a star performer.
Not just growing, but consistent growth. 29% CAGR over 3 years. That's impressive.
Shows they've built a strong connection with consumers.
Brand loyalty, for sure. And what's interesting is they're not resting on their laurels.
I was going to say, they launched so many new products under Ashoka.
37 last year alone. Snacks, desserts, ready-to-eat meals, traditional sweets, you name it.
It's like they know what people want before they even know it.
They're constantly innovating, keeping up with trends, whether it's taste preferences, dietary needs.
And that same thinking applies to Truly Indian.
Oh, absolutely. Tailored for that global market.
Germany launch, U.S. coming soon.
Adapting, but not losing that authentic core.
Yeah, how do they find that balance?
Yeah.
Making Indian food accessible, but staying true to the tradition.
It's an art, isn't it? It's not about watering down the flavors, more like selecting dishes, presenting them in a way that resonates.
Showcasing the diversity of Indian cuisine.
Exactly, making it less intimidating for those unfamiliar with it.
Okay, so brands, check. Growth, check. But what about the money stuff? We touched on their dividend, working capital.
Financials.
But let's get more specific. Debt, cash flow. How are they managing all that?
Okay, so full transparency, the sources we have, they're a bit thin on the details.
So, a bit of a blind spot.
A little bit, yeah. No detailed breakdown of debt levels or cash flow trends.
Okay. But we can make some educated guesses, right?
Exactly. I mean, they're investing heavily in expansion, new products that
Sure.
suggest they have access to capital. Their debt situation is manageable.
Right. If they were drowning in debt, they wouldn't be throwing money at growth.
Exactly. Plus, their working capital, it's increased, but it's manageable.
So, their short-term finances are healthy.
Which is crucial for cash flow, right?
Absolutely. So even without all the numbers, it seems like they're financially sound, managing things strategically.
That's the impression I get, too. And that high dividend payout, 71.73%, that's a sign of confidence in their future.
Makes them attractive to investors who want both growth and returns.
No doubt. So big picture, ADF Foods, they're on a roll, growing smart, diversifying.
Understanding their markets.
And a big part of their success, I think, is their commitment to quality and doing things right.
Right. We talked about their certifications earlier.
It goes beyond that. They're getting noticed for their ESG efforts.
ESG. What's that stand for again?
Environmental, social, and governance. It's becoming a big deal for companies.
Investors are paying attention.
And consumers, too. They want to know their choices are making a difference.
So what specifically is ADF Foods doing on the ESG front?
Oh, on the environmental side, they're exploring renewable energy.
Okay.
Solar power, more efficient machinery, even working towards zero liquid discharge at their Nashik factory.
Wow. So they're serious about reducing their environmental impact?
Not just talk, real action. And socially, they're big on employee health and safety, skill development, diversity, and inclusion.
So creating a positive impact within the company and the community.
Exactly. And all of this is guided by good corporate governance, transparency, accountability, ethical practices.
So they're ticking all the ESG boxes.
Pretty much. They're showing that profitability and responsibility can go together.
It's a powerful message. But what about the future? What's next for ADF Foods? Any roadblocks on their path to, like, global domination?
Well, one of the biggest challenges for any food company today is keeping up with consumer preferences.
Right. Things are changing so fast.
People are more health conscious. They care about ingredients, sourcing.
So how does a company like ADF Foods, with its rich flavors, adapt to that?
It's a balancing act. They need to innovate, offer healthier options, but without losing that authentic taste.
So maybe we'll see plant-based samosas, lower sodium curries.
Could be. And they can leverage those amazing spices they use. Tons of health benefits there.
Right. Spices are more than just flavor.
Exactly. And education is key. Being transparent about ingredients, cooking techniques, showing people how healthy a traditional Indian food can be.
It's about building trust with consumers.
Absolutely. Another challenge and an opportunity is keeping up their ethical sourcing and production as they grow.
Right. Bigger company, more pressure.
Exactly. People want to know where their food comes from, that it was produced fairly.
So ADF Foods needs to walk the walk.
Yep. ESG is not just a trend, it's a necessity for the long term.
It's good business, basically.
And it can be tough, expanding globally, different regulations, cultural norms.
But it's worth the effort.
Absolutely. Now, on the opportunity side, they're in a fantastic market. The demand for ethnic food, especially Indian, is exploding.
Right place, right time, with the right expertise.
We have the brand recognition, the distribution network, the financial stability.
Solid foundation.
Yeah.
So how do they make the most of all this?
Technology is going to be huge. E-commerce, online delivery, even personalized nutrition recommendations.
Meeting consumers where they are, online and offline.
Exactly. Data analytics, too. Understanding consumer behavior, optimizing marketing.
So like knowing what people want before they even do?
In a way, yeah. And of course, continued global expansion, new markets, new partnerships.
Taking those flavors worldwide.
And maybe even strategic acquisitions, partnerships to expand their product line, get into new areas.
Lots of possibility.
Tons, but it won't be without challenges.
Right. We talked about the health-conscious consumer, the ethical sourcing.
Competition's another one, staying ahead of the curve in a crowded market.
And then there's the global economy, geopolitics, all that uncertainty.
It's a complex landscape out there.
So they got to be flexible, adaptable, keep their long-term goals in mind.
Exactly. One more thing. Managing their growth carefully, making sure it's sustainable, not growing too fast too soon.
Right. Keeping that balance between growth and responsibility.
Couldn't have said it better myself. Making sure everyone benefits, the company, the employees, the consumers, the planet.
Well, this has been insightful. We've covered ADF Foods' global performance, their brands, their financials, even looked ahead to the future.
And they've got a great story, don't they? Vision, innovation, adaptability.
Inspiring to see a company not just riding a trend, but shaping the industry.
Absolutely. As we wrap up this deep dive, we'll touch on some key takeaways, give our listeners some food for thought.
Let's do it. Welcome back. It's the final part of our ADF Foods deep dive.
Time to wrap things up, put a bow on it.
We covered a lot. I mean, from their early days.
Their journey.
To becoming this global food player.
Global ambitions, definitely.
Brand strategies, sustainability.
We dug deep.
But before we, officially sign off.
Okay.
What are the big takeaways? What should our listeners remember about ADF Foods?
Well, first off, they're a company that's really performing.
They've got the momentum.
Clear vision, a track record of growth, and they're in a market that's just exploding.
Perfect timing, right.
Absolutely. And they're not just along for the ride. They're shaping the industry, leading the way.
I like that.
And they're doing it right, Focus on quality, innovation, that commitment to sustainability really stood out to me.
Yeah, we talked about that a lot.
It's not just about profits, it's about doing good, making a difference.
Which is great to see.
Now, their brand strategy, that's smart too. They're not trying to be everything to everyone.
No, they're focused.
Targeted approach, right?
Right.
Ashoka. For that traditional market, truly Indian. For the wider global audience.
It's like they know exactly who they're talking to.
And their investments, capacity, expansion, technology, it shows they're planning for the future.
Ready for the growth.
Prepared, yeah. But we got to be realistic, right? There are challenges, too.
Hard.
Like we said, consumers are changing. They're more health conscious, demanding.
So how does ADF adapt to that while staying true to their brand, their flavors?
It's a tough one, for sure. Got to find that balance, maybe healthier ingredients, lower sodium.
Right, we talked about that.
Maybe even explore plant-based versions of Indian classics.
Ooh, that could be interesting.
Lentil-based curries, things like that. And don't underestimate education, highlighting the natural health benefits of Indian food, the spices, fresh herbs, vegetables.
Changing perceptions.
Exactly. And they got to be careful with their ethical sourcing, production as they grow.
Bigger company, bigger responsibility.
Transparency is key. People care about where their food comes from, how it's made.
Absolutely.
Building trust is crucial. And of course, you've got competition, the economy, all that to deal with.
It's a lot to juggle.
It is. Flexibility, adaptability, that's what they'll need.
Along with that strong vision.
And not losing sight of their values.
Yeah, don't forget why you're successful in the first place.
Exactly. But honestly, I'm optimistic about ADF Foods. They're set up well for the future.
Me too.
They're in a booming market. They've got the expertise, the resources, the drive.
They could become a real leader in the global food scene.
No doubt about it. So we've explored their story, their strengths, their strategies, the challenges they face.
It's been a deep dive for sure.
Lots to think about. And as always, we encourage our listeners, Keep exploring, keep learning.
There's a whole world of food out there.
And so much to discover about ADF Foods and the industry they're part of.
So until next time, happy exploring and stay hungry for knowledge.
And for delicious food, of course.